Before proceeding with the formal business of the meeting, I would ask Reverend Lloyd Denny to lead us in prayer.
Decisions that promote justice, peace, and prosperity for all. Help us approach this meeting with a humble heart, open to listening to and learning from one another. Make our work today reflect a spirit of unity and shared purpose. In Jesus' name, amen.
Please be seated. Good evening and welcome to this meeting of the Council. Before we begin, would members please sit in their allocated seats, silence their mobile phones. If you are able, stand up when proposing and seconding items. Switch microphones on to speak and off immediately afterwards. Observe appropriate standards of courtesy in debate. If there is an emergency, turn left out of the chamber, follow the green emergency exit sign to the main town hall entrance and assemble in St. George's Square. Please note this meeting is being live streamed to the public. Members of the public present are entitled to take photographs, film, audio record and report the business held in public, but must not act in a disruptive manner. If they do so, they may be asked to leave. I now invite the new Chair and Vice Chair of the Luton Youth Council to make a presentation to the Council. Please note that I will be inviting questions from members at the end of the presentation for a total of maximum of 30 minutes.
Hello, good evening. My name is Gareth Williams. I'm representative of the Luton Youth Council, Youth Partnership Service, and we oversee the Luton Youth Council. Oh, apologies. Sorry, can you hear me now? Yeah. Sorry, I'd like to introduce Autumn Barnes-Murphy, who is the Vice Chair of Luton Youth Council.
Hi, my name is Autumn. I'm the Vice Chair of the Luton Youth Council. This is my first full meeting, so apologies if I stutter or I don't know what to say. So the first full meeting where we were out to the public was, I think, the Luton 2040 conference, where we were on panel 1, and I felt that was a really good experience. Sorry, Faison wasn't here. I don't know why, in all honesty. But, sorry, I don't really know what to say. I'm better at answering questions than explaining myself. Hi, I'm back again. I don't know, should I explain what we've done or? Yes. Okay. So the first thing we did was the Rachel Hopkins Votes for 16 interview, which was enjoyable because I got to share my opinion about it. Then the first thing we did as a full cohort was the Luton Carnival, where we made the banners and walked in the parade behind the mayor, and it was like really enjoyable. I know I've said that like 3 times, but it was. And for me, despite the heat, it was something I really enjoyed because it's something I wanted to do since I was younger, and yeah. Then recently we did the Health, Weight and Physical Activity Summit at Youthscape, where we spoke about whether healthy living was something from students themselves or if it was something influenced at home or through schools. I don't think it is through the students' mindsets themselves. I think it's through the role schools play as well. Then recently I was at the Climate Change Board meeting where I questioned things about the EV charging ports, about how Birdsfoot Lane would end up getting the charging eventually, but can't right now due to electrical safety issues. And all vehicles that are changed will turn into recycled eventually. Yeah, I don't know what else to say.
Thank you for that presentation. Does any member have any question for the chair or the vice chair of the Luton Youth Council? Councillor Umi.
Do you want you to stand? I can't remember. Yeah. Hi, Autumn. Thank you. Thanks so much for your presentation, and thank you for everything that you and the Youth Council do. You guys are so new because it's only been a couple of months, hasn't it? So, yeah, well done on all the work you're doing. My question is, what's been your favourite part of it? You talked about all the exciting things, and you've got a room full of councillors here, and we are all here making policy changes and decisions for the town. So what would be the most important, maybe 3 areas for you and for the Youth Council, things that you want us to focus on as councillors? Thank you.
For me, I think the most exciting part about being in the Luton Youth Council is that I get to see the ins and outs of how the council runs, and I get to be part of a change. I think the main 3 areas would be what our campaigns are, which is education reform, health awareness, and community violence and inequality.
Councillor Khan.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Yeah, first of all, welcome to our chambers, and I know what it is like being there. I remember when I was young and was elected as a prefect, and my legs were trembling and I was sweating. So you're in safe space, you're not alone feeling like this. But the whole point of having a youth council is to inspire young leaders like you, because we want you to shape our future, and it's great that you got yourself involved and giving us indications of what's important to you and what policy issues will have the greatest impact on our young people. So well done for that. My question is that you took part in EV charging, which is of course going to be the future for many drivers and people who own vehicles. Where do you think the biggest gap were, and what improvements can we make as a council? Thank you.
Sorry, was that the biggest gaps in the EV?
In terms of charging your cars, so you got involved in EV charging, is that right? So when you were working with the project team or got involved, do you think that we have enough charging points? Do you think they're located in the right places? What kind of challenges do you think that we could potentially face and that we need to address to make life easier for people to charge their cars and encourage more people to have electric cars?
So the EV charging wasn't something us as a youth council did. I took place in the Climate Change Advisory Board last week, and they discussed the charging ports, and I raised the issue that the charging ports are a benefit to Luton, but electric vehicles can easily catch on fire, and it takes gallons of water to put out, which could put a strain on the resources available, and there's already strains on it from previous events and climate change in itself. So I think it's a benefit to Luton to have the EV charging ports, but I think if we don't have the precautions in place, then it won't benefit anyone. It will do more damage than good.
Councillor Taylor.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Hi, my name's Councillor James Taylor and I'm the portfolio holder for Education, Skills and Employment. So I heard you mention that education was going to be one of your priorities, and I'll be fascinated to hear your thoughts on it and what you would like to see the council deliver in that area. So I guess my question is, would you be prepared to work with your colleagues on the Youth Council to put together a presentation or report, and maybe I'll come down and sit and listen to it and think about those priorities and how we can help deliver on what the children in our town need?
I think we're going to launch our campaigns after the summer holidays as to not interfere with the previous cohort. So yeah, we will probably be willing to do a presentation and work with councillors for it. I think the main part of our education reform is going out, spreading awareness and actually telling people the advantages and what's not there currently, and we want to make a difference in that way by as well, like educating as well as actually making a difference.
Thank you, Councillor Matt Fry.
Yes, thank you. That was a great presentation. In considering everything that you've done, what is the one thing that we could do to get more of your age group engaged with politics or with the council and that sort of stuff?
I think the one thing you could do to get more youth engaged is nurturing their curiosity, because I feel like when politics or the council gets mentioned, many students turn off, like they don't pay attention, mainly because it's not engaging, it's not child friendly, it's not something youth actually want to participate in. I know when I first applied for the role through my school, it wasn't explored enough, they didn't elaborate enough on what we would actually be doing, despite the previous chair going to my school. It's just, I think we need to actually work with students more to get them wanting to participate in this, especially since the voting at 16 is happening and not many students actually know anything about politics or the parties out there.
Councillor Gillian Fry.
Hi, thank you for your presentation. You don't need to be scared in here. We're all friendly, really. I just want to pick up on Councillor Fry's point about engaging the youth in politics. What's the one thing you would want to do yourself to engage people more if you were the person having to do that engaging?
If I was the person doing the engaging, I think I'd actually actively go out there and participate with the youth. I wouldn't just preach them. I would physically go out there, do entertaining things with them, get them engaged, activities, like even in a park. Like it's something that they would remember and not something that you just talk about and then they forget. That's not a way to get them engaged or into the policies or the parties.
Councillor Franks.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I'm rather anxious. First of all, thank you for the work that you're doing. I think it's very useful and very helpful. But I'm anxious to understand how easy or difficult you find it to get your friends interested in the work that you and your fellow youth councillors are doing.
I think that it's really difficult to get people engaged if they're not willing to, mainly because that spark of wanting to learn about the world around you starts at a young age. So if people older than you are telling you it's adult business, it's none of your business, why are you getting involved, it's not something a child should understand. If they're telling you that from primary school, then by the time they're my age, they're not interested. And I think the way politicians, no offense, preach that is something that discourages my peers.
Councillor Lovell.
Thank you, Autumn. Thank you for your presentation. And we're not offended at all. Really happy to have you here. And I think you stood out at the 2040 conference on the panel. Really intelligent questions. And I think our Chief Exec and leader will remember you for a long time. So really, really well done and commendable all the great work that you're doing. As portfolio holder for community safety, I just want to ask you that what are the challenges, for young people, in our town regarding safety? Thank you.
One major issue towards young people in the town is knife crime, but I know that gets a lot of light shined on it, and that is a main issue. But at the same time, being addicted to vapes, drugs, even social media is an issue for people in the community, mainly because it's so addictive. I think those are just surface level. So if we actually went into community violence, the title itself, it's not just physical violence or what damages your own body or you damaging someone else's. It's also mental, and it's also what happens at home and not just in the streets. Yeah.
So Mahmood Hussain.
Thank you for your presentation. The government is determined to lower the age of voting, and you are going to decide the future of many people. And how would you encourage them to participate more actively, because you are the future leaders of this chamber? So how would you encourage them not only to vote, but also to be the future leaders of this, whether it's local or the national?
So I think to encourage people to vote, it doesn't start in high school or a year before they start voting. It starts from primary school, where they are outspoken. Most children are outspoken and outgoing and willing to learn, but it's teachers or peers that pressure them into being shy. So if you nurture that outgoing personality, then they're more likely to want to lead the country. They're more likely to want to engage in the community. And I think that ability to want to participate with people around them will make people want to vote and have a role in general elections.
Councillor Burnett.
Hi, thank you for your presentation and the questions from my colleagues. My question to you goes back to a child or a young person is part of a family. They don't start at school. What can the family do, parents, extended family do, to enable and empower the discussion to make the next generation behind you more engaged in politics and community activity? Thank you.
I suppose the home life of the child should be encouraging and not dumb things down just because of the child's age. If you expose a child to the world of politics, or let's say something more child-friendly like, I don't know, football, yeah? So if you expose them to that from a young age, they're more likely to understand the ins and outs of it than someone that is just only learning it in adulthood. So I suppose not dumbing it down is a major element to it as well, because by the time they're in high school and they only know the dumbed down version, then that's more impactful and harmful to the child and its society, especially if every household in the whole of Luton is dumbing things down and making it child-friendly when the world really isn't child-friendly. That's doing more damage than good.
May I thank the young lady for her excellent presentation and for attending the council meeting this evening. You are most welcome to stay for the remainder of the meeting, but feel free to leave if you wish to do so.
Thank you.
The first item of business is to receive the minutes of the meetings of the Council held on 19th May and 30th of June 2026, as set out on pages 6 to 21, 22 to 23 respectively. Do all members agree the minutes as a correct record? Are there any apologies for absence from this meeting?
There are a number of apologies, Mr Mayor. We've received apologies from Councillor Abbas, Amjad Ali, Councillor Keynes, Councillor Basit Mahmood and Councillor Marshall and Councillor Chowdhury.
Thank you. Members, please note that voting will be by exception. Rather than calling out each member's names to record their vote, I will ask members to indicate if they wish to vote against a motion. If no member votes against, I will declare the item carried. The outcomes will not be recorded in the minutes unless 6 members of the Council indicate that they wish for this to happen in accordance with Standing Order 21.2. Please note that in accordance with Section 100B of the Local Government Act 1972, I propose to take 2 items of urgent business. The first is an update from Rob Hewlett, Head of Prevention and Protection at the Bedfordshire Fire and Rescue Service, on the train crash that happened near Bedford at the end of last month. This will be presented immediately after the consideration of the Bedfordshire Fire and Rescue Authority reports at agenda item 6.1. The second is an urgent resolution in relation to the current situation in Azad, Jammu and Kashmir, and this will be taken immediately after the notice of motion at agenda item 13.2. The proposed resolution has been circulated around the Council chamber. On the 14th July 1956, our predecessors in this chamber signed a town twinning agreement with Bergisch Gladbach in Germany. Building a bridge is a great achievement, but maintaining it is an important one, if not more so. On this 17th anniversary, we send lieutenant greetings to Mayor Marcel Kreutz and the people of Bergisch Gladbach with sincere thanks for their many years of friendship. Finally, I would also like to personally congratulate Councillor James Taylor on occasion of his forthcoming wedding on 18th of July. Section 106, disclosures.
All members of the Council have been circulated with a list of items before the Council this evening which fall within the ambit of Section 106 of the Local Government Finance Act 1992. Any member affected should disclose the fact and refrain from voting on any questions relating to those items. I can confirm, Mr Mayor, there's no Section 106 disclosures for this evening. I can also confirm that there are no general disclosures of interest.
Thank you. The next item is a consideration of a written question received under Standing Order 9.1. I call upon Councillor Stevens to ask a question of Councillor Javeria Hussain.
Firstly, I have to say I forgot my reading glasses, so I might be slightly slow in asking my questions. Firstly, to Councillor Hussain, I'm asking these questions actually on behalf of Councillor Marshall, who unfortunately is unwell today, and I hope that we'll wish him a speedy recovery. That's the first thing. 5 years ago, the Council decided to protect the new park in Hertfordshire that they opened to replace the one that they are covering in concrete in Wanding Close by dedicating it to the charity Fields in Trust. Would the Councillor please update me on the progress with implementation of this 5-year-old decision? And this was an executive decision, 27th of April 2021.
Thank you, Councillor Stevens. First of all, I acknowledge Councillor Marshall's question and I wish him a speedy recovery. And I acknowledge his question as read by you. The dedication of the new park to Fields in Trust completed on the 16th of June of this year. The park is now protected by a deed of dedication. As the land is unregistered at the land registry, we are completing a first registration, and this will include the registration of the restriction. Now, as you all may be aware, that this project has allowed the Labour Council to an improved and much better use of public park, whilst also delivering the much-needed family homes our town and our residents are desperately crying out for. The party opposite this chamber has no housing strategy other than oppose new housing, oppose a budget which saw 2 million invested into street cleaning, the refurbishment of all our amazing playgrounds for our young people, and action taken on pavement parking. They oppose airport expansion, which will deliver economic infrastructure of our town and transformation. They even oppose new investment coming into developing new employment land. They finally have no plan for our town, except posing for group photographs and pitching up tents on public highways. On that side of the council chamber, you get abstention, NIMBYism and waffle, while over here, on our side, we are getting on with delivering for the town's priorities, because whilst they're doing nothing, we're getting things done.
Ask a supplementary question?
Yes, Councillor Stevens, if you've got a supplementary question, please ask.
Does the council agree that even by the questionable timeframes offered by the Labour-controlled council on many projects, that 5 years to complete a simple legal process is unsatisfactory? And if she does, could she please explain why this was the case?
So in answer to your supplemental question, as the land is unregistered land, the case was particularly complex and took longer than we would have liked. This is a matter which further delayed by the personnel changes in the client department as well. However, we are pleased that the matter is now concluded satisfactorily and now have a beautiful new park that will be well used by families, dog walkers, joggers, and by the whole community in our town, that placed it into trust for future generations alongside rapid progression now being made on the new homes, which also will allow so many people to realise their dreams of high quality accommodation. I hope that's satisfactory.
And a supplementary, please, Mr. Chair, Mr. Mayor. 15 years ago, the council decided to also dedicate memorial and war-down parks to fields in trust. So a similar process which has gone to this park. This was in response to the then Queen Elizabeth II challenge. Have either of these been completed? And that was an executive decision of 3rd of October 2011.
Thank you for your question, Councillor Stevens. I wasn't here 15 years ago as a councillor, but I can happily give you a written response for that.
Thank you.
The next item are two reports of the Bedfordshire Fire and Rescue Authority as set out on pages 24 to 27 and pages 28 to 30. I call upon Councillor Burnett to present the report.
Evening, colleagues. Before you this evening, you've had the report. I just would like to draw your attention just to a couple of things and to add. So as you can see, the service has formally adopted the TUC Dying to Work Charter, reinforcing its commitment to supporting employees with dignity and compassion during terminal illness and developing supporting policies and communication plans across the organisation. There's also, I was really honoured to be and attended the annual Long Service and Good Conduct Award, where staff who had completed up to 40 years of service was celebrated, and there was actually a member of her staff who is still working there, having done over 40 years, which I would say nowadays is quite rare, and he's still quite active. So I thought that was really good to hear. And also I need to remind people that Luton Fire Service have been doing a lot of work with regards to dementia, and we did some work because dementia is growing within our communities, and it's really important that we do that work. So the service leads on prevention and protection. I just wanted to say and remind you that early this month, quite funny about we recognising that we're twinned with a German town. Didn't even know that. So today was a school day. We celebrated the service 40 years of Luton Fire Station being in existence. And thank you, Councillor Franks, for your email you sent a few months ago, enlightening me that you was a nice little boy going and christening the pole. Thank you for that. I just wanted to say it was a really lovely day. Sunny on the 4th of July. Councillor Nicholas was there. And you know what was really good? To see the scrapbook. ex-firefighters told their story, and it was really enlightening. So this ex-firefighter retired, brought a scrapbook to the event, and to see how the town looked was really enlightening. And one story that really intrigued me, that I didn't know, some might know, that Luton Hoo used to have deers. So in 1977, I think, a deer wandered from the estate all the way down to Park Street. Now that for me was quite enlightening, because I've always seen Luton as very urban. I did check whether there's any deer still on Luton Hoo, and somebody's reassured me. But it was really good. And what was really good, to hear the firefighters' stories, many of them post-war came to Luton from London, and we are still doing that. And one person said that they got a council accommodation in Wardown Hill, and they bought it, and they're still there, and they're very happy to still be in Luton, which for myself, given some of the negativity we kept getting, was good. So it was a beautiful day. We had a cake, we did, and we had the Lord Lieutenant there as well. So I just thought it was really important that I tell you that little story, because I wasn't here in 1977, but it was really nice to see ex-firefighters reconnecting very fondly and happy. And one gentleman, he came post-war here, and his son joined the service and retired. So that sort of legacy in still giving public service. So I just add that to the record, and we'll be rebuilding the service, the fire station, relevant for the rest of this century. So now, I finish my report.
Is the motion seconded? Are there any questions? Councillor Franks.
Before I ask my question, Mr. Mayor, I'd just like to thank Councillor Burnett for making me famous for being a 10-year-old boy, the first person to slide down the poles at the Studley Road fire station, which at that time, of course, was a building site. My question relates to the number of false alarms that the brigade attends. It amounts to best part of 70 a week, which is a lot. And I do understand that many of them are automatic alarms on buildings that have quite a lot of people in them, and therefore the fire brigade can't possibly ignore them. They have to go. So the two questions really are, does Councillor Burnett agree with me that the real danger in these fire alarms is the fact that 2 or 3 fire engines, big, heavy, powerful machines, are tearing through the town at 40 or 50 miles an hour? That must represent a danger, in spite of the fact that the drivers are obviously extremely well trained. Does she agree that that is the key danger? And what, please, can the fire service do to reduce the number of these calls that they do have to attend? I do understand they have to go. We can't just ignore them.
Councillor Franks, thank you for your question. And actually today at full authority meeting, that was one of the questions that we did discuss about false alarms. And actually we talked about rural fires as well. The Chief Fire Officer did reassure the question that was posed from the Fire Authority member, that control, pushbacks and ask questions with regards to fire alarms that comes into control, to make sure that to not waste resource. That is it. But because of prevention is better than cure, they do send people, but they are working on educating the public on the importance of not wasting resources. I hope that's acceptable. If you want a more operational question, to my right, I have Assistant Chief Fire Officer Hewitt, who works in prevention and protection. Is that adequate for you, Councillor Frank?
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
If there are no further questions, does the council receive the report? I now invite Mr. Rob Hewlett, Head of Prevention and Protection at the Bedfordshire Fire and Rescue Service, to update the Council on the train crash that happened near Bedford at the end of last month.
Thank you, Mayor. Deputy Mayor, members of the full Council. My name's Rob Hewlett, and I'm here this evening in my capacity as Assistant Chief Fire Officer, Bedfordshire Fire and Rescue Service, to provide members of this chamber an update on the fatal train collision that happened on the 19th of June. I would like to begin by expressing, on behalf of Bedfordshire Fire and Rescue Service and the Fire Authority, our deepest condolences to the family and loved ones of the person who tragically lost their life in the collision. Our thoughts also remain with those who are injured and everyone affected by what was a traumatic event for many, many people. In terms of the incident, Bedfordshire Fire and Rescue Service was mobilised at just before 5:15 in the evening, following reports of a collision involving 2 passenger trains just south of Bedford. A major incident was declared by all agencies, and this triggered a significant multi-agency response involving emergency responders from all partners, Local Resilience Forum and the voluntary sector, amongst other organisations. In terms of the fire service efforts, our crews focus on rescue, casualty care and safe evacuation of passengers from a complex rail environment. There was no fire involvement. 1 fatality was sadly confirmed and a number of casualties received treatment and support. This was a challenging and complex incident that demonstrated the professionalism, preparedness and interoperability of all those involved. Having attended the incident myself during the closing stages, I must say the level of compassion shown by all of the responders was just extraordinary in what was very, very challenging circumstances. In terms of the next steps, the Rail Accident Investigation Branch and the British Transport Police continue their investigations. Bedfordshire Fire and Rescue Service is fully supporting that work. Alongside this, our own structured debrief and assurance processes are underway. Learning will be identified, shared and embedded into future responses. I would also like to recognise the welfare impact that incidents of this nature have on emergency responders and control staff. I just want to assure members of this chamber that appropriate support measures remain in place and will continue to prioritise the well-being of our people. Finally, I'd like to place on record my sincere thanks to all emergency services, partner organisations, volunteers and local authority staff who responded with professionalism, compassion and commitment under extremely difficult circumstances. I would also like to thank local residents and the wider community and some of the members of this chamber for their understanding and support while emergency operations were carried out. Thank you, Mayor. Any questions?
Thank you for the report and update. Does any member have any questions on the update? Thank you for attending.
Sorry, I just want to take the opportunity to thank the fire service and all the emergency service for their excellent work on the day. I think everyone saw how efficient and how great they were, so just pass our thanks on to your teams and to the other emergency services that were present as well.
Can I just say, sorry, Mayor, can I just say thank you for that? And yes, there's a debrief to work through, but from what I can see initially, our crews responded superbly in really, really challenging circumstances. So we'll take that and pass it on. Thank you.
Thank you for attending the council meeting this evening. You are most welcome to stay for the remainder of the meeting, but feel free to leave if you wish to do so. With regard to agenda item 7, there are no written questions this evening for the Bedfordshire Fire and Rescue Authority. The next item is agenda item 8.1, the recommendation of the Executive on the 2025-26 Treasury Management Annual Outturn Report. I call upon Councillor Hanif to move the recommendations.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
I move the recommendations set out at paragraphs 2, 1, 2, 2, 3 on page 31 of the agenda.
Is the motion seconded?
Seconded, Mr. Mayor.
Are there any questions? Councillor Khan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a couple of questions. Your report talks about the level of borrowing on page 35. If you look at the table on 23, the borrowing is, I understand, within the limit, but is the upper limit. And what we are doing is rolling that over. We're to pay off our previous loan, we get another loan with the new rates. And with the global situation, as well as what's happening over in Middle East and the inflation rate here, we cannot see the reduction in interest rates. But with any organization that borrows money, there has to be a strategy of repaying that. I would like to know, first of all, what is the strategy to pay off these loans, and when do you intend to pay, before I come on to the second question?
Would you like to respond, Councillor Hanif?
Yeah, thank you for your question, Councillor Khan. I'm going to have to give you a written response on this because it would have helped if this question was given to me before so I could give a response to full council. So I'm going to have to, because it's quite a technical question, I'll have to give you a written response.
Councillor Khan?
Well, I'll give you a benefit of doubt because it's your first meeting, but I still would have hoped that you would have enough knowledge to have an idea how to pay off debts. But anyway, I'll accept your written response. My second question is about your planned spend and your underspending, almost about 16 million pounds. What I want to know is that you obviously plan for this for projects, you have consulted, and which means that you're not going to be delivering on some of those promises. I want to know what they are, and where have you compromised, and what is the mitigation?
Yeah, again, I would like to thank you for your question, but again, I'm going to have to give you a written response. But I mean, in future, I would have, again, if you would email me this before, because this is a wide-ranging question, so I'm not in a position to answer this on the spot. And also, could I request, Mr. Mayor, if questions are asked in a courteous manner, with a bit of decorum. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Just to conclude, Mr. Mayor, yes, written questions are fine, but these are questions on the report. They're not wide-ranging, they're specific, and these are from the actual tables that you have produced as a portfolio holder and a party. So they're quite specific, and they should be quite easy to answer. Thank you.
Are there any amendments? Does any member wish to speak to the motion? The motion is before the council. Does any member vote against the proposal? The motion is carried. The next item is agenda item 9.1, change in membership composition of the Health and Wellbeing Board. I call upon Councillor Salim to move the recommendation.
I move the recommendation at paragraph 1, 1, 2, 3, set out on page 44 of the agenda.
Is the motion seconded?
Seconded, Mr. Mayor.
Are there any questions? Councillor Franks.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm looking at paragraphs 13 and 14 of the report, and I wonder if the councillor is able to give us a firm commitment that as a result of these recruitments, the numbers of consultancy or long-term agency staff employed by the council will in fact be reduced.
So Councillor Franks, that's not this item, it's the one after.
Have I jumped ahead? I apologise, Mr.
Thank
Mayor.
you. Are there any
At
amendments?
least I've given notice in advance.
Are there any amendments? Does any member wish to speak to the motion? The motion is before the council. Does any member vote against the proposal? The motion is carried. Right. The next item is agenda item 10.1, proposed changes to the council's senior management structure. I call upon Councillor Salim to move the recommendation.
I move the recommendations at paragraph 2.1 to 2 set out on page 46 of the agenda.
Is the motion seconded?
Mr. Mayor.
Are there any questions? Councillor Franks, may I ask you a question now?
You want me to ask it again, Mr. Mayor? Yes, no problem at all. Looking at paragraphs 13 and 14, I'm just asking really whether at this stage the Councillor is able to give us any firm commitment that as a result of these changes to the management structure, there will actually be a reduction in the number of long-term agency staff and long-term consultants employed by the Council.
Thank you, Councillor Franks. It is always our intention to do that, to reduce our need for external consultancy. It's always a direction of travel. Thank you.
Burnett.
Yeah, thank you. My question is around in the report. Is it possible for us to have got or to get an organisation chart, a map, to see how the new roles fit in? Because pictures do say a lot, and that is not available here. And I was going to ask whether it is possible on paragraph 13, it might be useful to write out that we just know what the return on the investment is, because it talks about heavy reliance, but we haven't got any financial, I ain't got no financial figures in the report, and those who knows me knows that I like to see the numbers. So if that's possible, that would be really helpful. Thank you.
Jackie, indeed, that can be organised. Thank you.
Are there any... Councillor Matt Fry.
Yeah, I've got concerns around point 17 where it says there is no cost to the council arising from this. Obviously, you're saying that it's the posts are being reimbursed by the company. I'm sure, is that Lau? Also, there's a cost to them, which as a subsidiary company of the council means that there is an indirect cost to the council of those positions being placed. It's also, I've got concerns about the long-term funding of those positions as well.
There is no cost to the council because our funds are separate from LAL's funds. So I think it is very accurate in the way that it's described this investment.
But the subsidiary. But surely we benefit from the activities of Lau and. Sorry. Oh yeah. Sorry. Surely we benefit from the activities of Lau, and therefore you're taking away funds from the operation, and any surpluses that we would.
I just want to repeat that none of this is coming from any council pot. It's a separate pot, and I don't understand quite why you're making that link. It's very clear. Thank you.
Can you clarify which pot it's from then?
It says clearly it's from. There is no cost to the council arising from the creation of these posts. All costs will be reimbursed by the company. From Lau, Luton Rising, which has a separate, its accounts, everything is separate from the council. I don't think we could be more clear. Thank you.
Thank you. The airport company is a separate entity. That's the point, is a separate entity. It's, even though we're partners, it's a separate entity. Are there any amendments? Does any member wish to speak to the motion? The motion is before the council. Does any member vote against the proposal? The motion is carried. The next item is agenda item 11, the annual report of the executive leader on decisions made by the executive under special urgency. Would Councillor Salim please move the recommendation?
I move recommendation set out at paragraph 2 on page 49.
Is the motion seconded?
Seconded, Mr. Mayor.
Are there any amendments? Are there any questions? Are there any amendments? Does any member wish to speak to the motion? The motion is before the council. Does any member vote against the proposal? The motion is carried. On behalf of Councillor Mahmood, I call upon Councillor Lovell to present the Bedfordshire Police and Crime Panel Annual Activity Report 2025-26 as set out on pages 50 to 59 on the agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that the report be noted.
Is the motion seconded?
Seconded, Mr. Mayor.
Are there any questions? Councillor Shaw.
I'm sorry about this, Maria. Can you please tell us what the Commissioner has been saying, has got in his report about retail crime around the town and what his intentions were? You can take out paragraph 9 or 10. But what is in the Commissioner's report about retail crime?
Thank you, Councillor Shaw. Can I send you a written reply on this, if that's okay?
Second, Mr. Mayor, a different question then. Can you tell me, I know the answer is yes, but can you tell me if the cameras on Dominic Square, the Green on Ockwell Ring and Farley Hill are connected to the CCTV system in this town hall? The answer is yes.
Councillor Tom, yes, that's a yes.
Thank you, Maria. I've got a major concern, and residents of this town have. I mean, Councillor Bassett asked a question about a two-tier policing system in the town, but does that two-tier policing system reflect the policing what the shopping parades on our council estates get? And a perfect example would have been all you Facebook aficionados would have seen the car at the Green going up the pedestrian area with someone on top of it for 17 minutes. That was on there. Those cameras are linked to this town hall system. Can someone explain to me why the people on Ockwell Ring and Lucy Farm are scared to death of going to their shops at night when the cameras are all linked into this town hall?
Thank you, Councillor Tom. And these are operational questions. So can I come back to you with a written reply? But we are really concerned about the safety of our town and of residents as well. So it's quite a serious matter that we would look into. And I'd come back to you with a written response, if that's okay. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Does the council receive the report?
Yes. Yes.
Just ask that question. That's the end of it, yeah. The report's been received, so anything you'll have to ask, you'll have to email. Right, we're going to move on. The next item of business is a notice of
Mr. Mayor,
motion.
I rise on a point of standing orders. As a member who has on several occasions been refused the opportunity to ask more than one question when a report is presented, have the standing orders been changed, or have special rules been introduced to allow members to ask more than one question this evening? And the second part of my query on standing orders is, how come a report has been moved, seconded, subject to questions, and yet members are refused the opportunity to make comments?
So, Councillor, the standing order is one question, but as we didn't have many questions, I took the chair's prerogative to allow Councillor Shaw to ask the second question, as we didn't have many members put them. I took the chair's prerogative to allow a second question. On the other point, you said that comment. So, and in terms of the, because it was a report to be noted on, the debate needs to happen at the police and crime panel. It wasn't up for debate here. I've taken some advice from the monetary officer. You have, but all the political groups have representatives on the panels, and that's where the panels should be making the comments.
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, I have to say something on this. All we had tonight is no responses but written responses. If this is what we're going to get for the next year, then we might as well pack our bags and go home. I'm really disappointed tonight that we're not being allowed an opportunity to have real debates, and all we're getting is written responses and signposting. That's not what this chamber is about. Thank you.
Point of order, Mr. Mayor. We are not debating the issue, Mr. Mayor, and you shouldn't allow the members to give. This is a personal opinion. If there is a debate, then you should. Otherwise, it shouldn't be allowed, Mr. Mayor.
Correct.
Could I please, Mr. Mayor, have a response to my question as to why members were not invited to make comments on this item after it had been moved and seconded?
So I'll reiterate, this was the same format as the previous report, and the debate is done in the committees, the various subcommittees. It wasn't here. This is for us to receive a report. That is the advice. And that's why there's no comment. We need to move on. And in terms of Councillor Khan's point early on, it would be helpful if some of the questions, if you read the reports, if you would like an answer there and then, you could have emailed us the questions. You had ample opportunity there as well.
So you're making up standing orders as you go along, Mr. Mayor.
Members, the report of the Police and Crime Panel is no different to the report of the Fire and Rescue Authority in the way it is dealt with in this chamber. If you recall, when the fire authority report was considered, the Mayor asked for questions and then asked whether the Council received the report. That is exactly the same sequence that has taken place with regard to the report of the Police and Crime Panel, because it is a report for you to receive. You can frame your comments in the form of questions, as happens many times in the Chamber, but the sequence of activity with regard to that report is consistent.
The next item of business is a notice of motion set out at agenda item 13.1 on the agenda. I call upon Councillor Lovell to move the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Before I go into this motion, I'd just like to give a background that on the 11th of May, the first rendezvous for the Armed Forces veterans was launched at the Royal British Legion in Marsh Road, and we will be meeting weekly to support the veterans. And this is really remarkable, from conversations, that we've had with colleagues, with councillors, Councillor Rob, thank you, that this has been made possible. And again, last month we celebrated Armed Forces Day here with a reception hosted by the council here in the town hall. And this is the first one in about 7 years, I believe. And it was really well attended, successful. And we had a room full of armed forces who were really, happy that this, happened, for us. And we look to continue that. So the motion that I'm bringing before council today, as a follow-up to all of this, is that according to the 2021 census, there are roughly 3,500 veterans in the borough and 10 regular active servant personnel. This council is proud to have signed up to the Armed Forces Covenant Duty and wishes to note thanks on record to our Armed Forces personnel, their families and veterans. The council also notes the Armed Forces Covenant Duty Act and our legal responsibility to have due regard for the welfare and provision of services for those who have served our country in the forces. I call upon the Council to reaffirm the adoption of the Armed Forces Covenant and aspire to reach gold level on next review. Draw up an action plan to ensure the Armed Forces Covenant duty commitments, which is owned by the Armed Forces EDI network, are fully met, and report annually to the Executive on progress made via the Chief Executive. To host an annual reception for Armed Forces Day following the successful inaugural event held in June 2026. To consider the following motion. Right, okay. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Is the motion seconded?
Seconded, Mr. Mayor, and reserve the right.
Are there any questions? Councillor Stevens.
Councillor, I'm happy to support the motion generally. I've done a little background research into some of the issues facing our veterans. And whilst the majority of the veterans transition very successfully into civilian life, that isn't the case for all of them. And I'm wondering whether this covenant, gold standard review that you're looking to implement, covers the issues of our 3,500 veterans, and whether they are included in what I'm about to quickly raise, in that a lot of our veterans, I say a sizable minority of our veterans.
Question.
It is a question, and I said it's tied into, are we able to deal under what is being proposed for these issues, and how do we know how many of the veterans in our in the town are so affected? We know that many veterans use alcohol as a mechanism to deal with. That I have raised the question, I started the question by saying that I support what is going forward, but I wish to know whether the issues that I'm outlining here are going to be dealt with for a sizable minority of veterans that are affected by these issues. And the issues, number one, is misuse of alcohol. Number two is about the issue of homelessness, because we are aware that it's quite difficult for many veterans to access mainstream housing. And they will sofa surf or sleep in friends' houses. And the third issue is they find it difficult to acquire jobs, because they cannot necessarily match up the skills that they have gained in the armed forces with those that are required by the CVs of civilian jobs. So I wish to know, with those three areas which is affecting a sizable minority of veterans, probably in our town, and maybe you'll be able to find out how many of those veterans are so affected, whether these issues are going to be supported, the veterans will be supported that are suffering from many of those issues that I have just raised. That is the question, Mr.
Thank you, Councillor Lovell.
Mayor.
Thank you.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, I think I might have a declaration of interest in this item, which I didn't see, but I'm Armed Forces family, veterans family.
Can we put it? Can you leave the room? Can you...
Sorry.
We've just got to wait until... would you like to respond, Councillor Love?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Stevens, for your questions, which are really important as well. But you'll be pleased to know that we've signed up to the homelessness covenant, and with the setting up of this new rendezvous hub for veterans, we're working, it's a multi-agency, we've got lots of stakeholders and partners. Councillor Rob, who was previous portfolio holder for housing, was really active in this. So we've got the job centre, we've got the housing, and all the other welfare services, drug and alcohol that you mentioned, are all part of this support group that will be working together closely to support the veterans. So they're not really on their own. And there are other organisations from the armed forces as well who have also come, together to support them as well, outside, externally. So it's really a well-knit and very holistic approach to the issues that the veterans, do face in Luton and nationally. But we're looking at Luton, and we're very passionate about what we do. And as Armed Forces champion, I'm also very passionate, about it. That it's not just about Remembrance Day, but to look at the whole year through to provide support for our veterans and their families as well. I hope this is okay.
Mr. Mayor, would it be possible for us to see how the support mechanism works through this gold standard, so that we are all comfortable as councillors that the areas that I have covered, if there are sizable minority in our borough that are being affected by these issues, that they are going to be well supported. We'd like to see how that is going to be going forward.
And that's fine, Councillor Stevens, and I would invite you to attend, one of the meetings. It's every Monday at the Royal British Legion. You're welcome, and your colleagues are welcome to come and to see the work that we're doing with them. And yes, there's always, working together to achieve, what we want for them. So yeah, happy for you to pop along.
Thank you.
Are there any amendments? Does any member wish to speak to the motion? Amy Nichols.
Just briefly, it really was an honour to open the RV point at the RBL Marsh Road, and huge thank you, especially to Paul Pryor for all the work he did bringing that together with all the people across the RBL in Luton, and Maria and Rob and all of those partners. And it was really, really wonderful to join the Armed Forces Day event here in the Town Hall with so many partners. And I'm really pleased that it can go ahead every year from now on, because it's so important that we recognise, respect and honour the sacrifices of our armed forces veterans, all of their families, everything they give up serving our country. And the Armed Forces Covenant's really important, and I'm really glad that we're reaffirming that today. Thank you.
The motion is before the council. Does any member vote against the proposal? The motion is carried. The next item of business is the notice of motion set out at agenda item 13.2 on the agenda. I call upon Councillor Lovell to move the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Before I go into the motion, this motion has come about from my report to Council last year and this year. We signed the Anti-Racism Charter last year, and following the Black Lives Matter report of last year and this year, this motion that I've brought before full Council is the aftermath of the Anti-Racism Charter. So, the Council adopted the definition of Islamophobia proposed by the All-Party Parliamentary Group on British Muslims in 2020 as follows. Islamophobia is rooted in racism and is the type of racism that targets expressions of Muslimness or perceived Muslimness. In the light of the ongoing increase in incidents of anti-Muslim hostility and hatred nationally and internationally, the UK government has updated its non-statutory definition. The definition of anti-Muslim hostility, which also extends to people who may be perceived to be Muslim, is the following. Anti-Muslim hostility is intentionally engaging in, assisting, or encouraging criminal acts, including acts of violence, vandalism, harassment, or intimidation, whether physical, verbal, written, or electronically communicated, that are directed at Muslims because of their religion or at those who are perceived to be Muslim, including where that perception is based on assumptions about ethnicity, race, or appearance. It is also the prejudicial stereotyping of Muslims or people perceived to be Muslim, including because of their ethnic or racial backgrounds or their appearance, and treating them as a collective group defined by fixed and negative characteristics, with the intention of encouraging hatred against them, irrespective of their actual opinions, beliefs, or actions as individuals. It is engaging in unlawful discrimination where the relevant conduct, including the creation or use of practices and biases within institutions, is intended to disadvantage Muslims in public and economic life. The Council resolves to use and promote the updated definition alongside the APPG, which is the All-Party Parliamentary Group, definition in its work to eliminate Islamophobia and all its forms of racism and discrimination in the town. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Is the motion seconded?
Seconded, Mr. Mayor, and reserve the right.
Are there any questions? Councillor Matt Fry.
I've no real objections against this motion. I think Islamophobia is abhorrent, but I do note that this definition comes from the Labour government's Ministry of Housing and Community and Local Government, and comes with additional guidance in its use. Can the councillor assure me that that additional guidance will be adhered to, especially when it is a non-statutory definition?
Thank you for your question. Just to let you know that this definition is being taken or proposed by the All-Party Parliamentary Group on British Muslims. So it's a cross-party definition.
I understand that, but the guidance from the ministry is very, very clear for the definition in where that definition should be used and where it should not be used. It's not a statutory and covers a lot of things.
I just want to understand that, are you saying there's been wrongly used in this motion? Because we have gone by guidance as well.
All I'm proposing is that you note that there is guidance and that and note where and when it should be used.
Are there any amendments? Does any member wish to speak to the motion? Councillor Taylor.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Islamophobia is an increasing problem in this country, and if you need any verification of that, just ask any Muslim family worried about the mainstreaming of anti-Muslim rhetoric and parties with significant support whipping up division and talking about ethnic repatriation. 15 years ago, I wrote my dissertation about support for the English Defence League, who were then who were seen, and their language was seen, as extreme and unacceptable. These days, their views are held and promoted by, amongst none other than the President of the United States, who launched his campaign promising to prevent Muslims from entering the USA, and also heavily promoted by the world's richest man and his now toxic social media platform, Twitter. We also see it in our politics, with Reform UK deliberately trying to stoke division between communities, such as we saw with Nigel Farage's disgraceful comments following the tragic events in Southampton, or the multiple Reform councillors who have had to be disciplined for anti-Muslim posts, or even when Tory MP Nick Timothy described a publicly organised Eid prayer on Trafalgar Square as domination, and for such Muslim events to be banned, despite there being a long tradition of all religions using the space, seeking to specifically discriminate against a specific religion and deliberately trying to whip up anti-Muslim hatred, and something which his party leader refused to condemn him for. When I look around my multi-ethnic town, I don't see the supposed existential threat to our country that those who seek to divide us paint. I see my son learning to play cricket with other Muslim children, my daughter going to a Muslim classmate's birthday party on a farm and stroking guinea pigs together, or I see England's first Muslim player, Jed Spence, coming on the other night and causing chaos in the Norwegian defence. Don't know what VAR's on about, it was definitely a penalty. In other words, I see people. I see British people living their lives, loving their families, wanting to better themselves. Not an existential threat to my country, but members of it. I welcome this motion and the updated definition of Islamophobia. We are a free society, you have free speech, but you have no right to stir up hatred against whole communities. Many times this has been done for political advantage. This new definition seeks to clarify that, and we welcome it. Thank you.
Councillor Hanif.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd just like to echo Councillor Taylor's comments. So, I mean, I get what Councillor Fry was saying about statutory, non-statutory, but a couple of things. Just yesterday or today, 12 people have been arrested for trying to sabotage an Islamic event, which had to be cancelled early. We've got pogroms happening in this country based on faith and ethnicity. And it must be said that a recent Tory Prime Minister called Muslim sisters with niqab as letterboxes. We've had reluctance from the previous Tory government to adopt this APBG definition of Islamophobia. So are we really saying that we should have levels of hierarchy when it comes to definitions of racism? No, and I'm glad to welcome this motion in this chamber, where we're saying as a town that we will not discriminate. We will not say that there are levels of hierarchy, like you're okay and you're not okay. And also we must, stand united as a borough, regardless of our political persuasions, Okay? And this definition is from a cross-party group. Okay? It's not from a Labour government. But since Councillor Fry brought up a Labour government, I'm proud to say it is a Labour government that has adopted this definition in the same way that the Labour government has recognised the state of Palestine. These issues, which have been long-standing, are being firmly put in place by a Labour government, and Islamophobia is disgusting. I, as a practicing Muslim, get abused because of my faith almost on a daily basis. In fact, people like myself and the Mayor of London have had to turn off comments on our social media pages for fear of discrimination and hateful comments. Why is it the Mayor of London, who has the single largest electoral mandate in the Western world, he has to have several bodyguards? You know, it's shocking. And I'm hoping colleagues of all sides of this chamber can stand united to adopt this definition, to say that we as a town, regardless of where our politics are going to stand up to hate and stand up to all forms of hate, whether it's anti-Semitism, Islamophobia. Also, for friends in the Sikh community have been targeted as a result of what's happening in Southampton. So we're going to say that we're standing united as a town to all forms of hate, and I would encourage everyone in this meeting, in this chamber, to support this motion and this definition of Islamophobia. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Khan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First of all, just to make clear that I welcome this motion. However, there's been some rhetoric and unfair rhetoric being said from the opposition. Whenever we say something, we have to lead by example. And Labour Party, for sure, have been accused of Islamophobia within its ranks and of discrimination. Your own MPs have reported and have spoken out against racism and particularly being targeted as a Muslim. So I would recommend that you write back to your leader and ask them to start implementing some of those standards and policies within the party before you start educating other people. And 15 of your MPs have been sidelined, and they are of Muslim background just because they dare speak out. So please, put your words where your mouth is first before you start accusing. And let me tell you about conservatism. In the Conservative ranks, you've seen some of the highest ranking ministers and MPs of Muslim background. It's the most diverse party that you would find. People, yes, do have rights to speech. However, I do agree with you that it should not be inflammatory. It should not cause tensions within the community, and we should all work together to ensure there is cohesion. And in Luton, we should be proud of the community that we have. Everyone here works along together. All the politicians here respect one another, and we should continue promoting equality and justice regardless of faith and ethnicity. Thank you.
The motion is before the council. Does any member? Councillor, yep. Councillor Khan, Alia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just to start off, Councillor Fry, I fully understood your question, and we, as well as adopting the definition, we will be implementing the guidance as well. So just to reassure you, Councillor Lovell will ensure that that is practiced. So just so that it's clear to everyone what you meant by your question. Obviously, I was the one to second the motion, and I speak in support of the motion tonight, introduced by Councillor Lovell. And I want to speak about it personally, because this isn't an abstract policy. This is my life. This is my reality. I wear my faith with pride in the way that my name carries my faith, in the way that I speak about it, and the way that I live and put myself out there in the world. This isn't up for negotiation ever.
I'm so sorry. Sorry.
That's all right. I was really getting into it, Hazel. Yes, as I was saying, this isn't up for negotiation, and I will never shrink myself for anyone just to make them comfortable, because I am who I am. I am a Muslim, and a Muslim before anything else in my identity. Being openly and unapologetically Muslim in public life means I've learnt to read a room in a way that most colleagues won't know, but some in here will know exactly what that looks like and what that means for us. I know what it's like to walk into a meeting and feel a pause before anyone speaks to me just because they've seen my name. I know what it's like to be the only Muslim person in most big meetings at work and sometimes political meetings, and feel every word I measured against an assumption that I haven't earned or asked for. Since being elected, I've had messages calling me a plant, a terrorist, dare I say it, telling me that I don't represent real residents and that I deserve to go back home. Well, my home is Dallow, actually, so I mean, I'm more than happy to go back to Dallow if that's what people are asking for. I've had people assume, because I've said a word that isn't English, that English isn't my first language. So you'll often hear me use the words like inshallah and mashallah, which literally just means God willing. So I'm telling you, and if I say salam, it means peace. So I'm literally sending peace your way. So just because I use those words doesn't mean that it makes me any less English or British. I've also had people assume that, or express surprise when I speak English because they're so surprised that I'm so articulate. And what's the surprise there for? Because I'm Muslim, so therefore I can't be articulate. Surprise, surprise, I can speak English. I've been asked many times, more than I can count, to answer for things and to apologise for things that I have no connection to, simply because of how I look and the faith I follow. None of that shows up in hate crime statistics. None of it would meet the bar of an obvious prosecutable incident, but it wears you down all the same, incident by incident, meeting by meeting, until you start wondering whether you're imagining it. You're not. This is exactly why we need a definition that names the subtle well and the obvious. Because anti-Muslim hostility isn't only the extreme, it's also the low hum of being doubted, second-guessed, and quietly excluded, and it's also the very real violence that keeps happening in this country that many of my colleagues before me have already talked about. In August 2024, riots that followed the Southport murders spread to Belfast, where a mosque was targeted and businesses were attacked. And Muslim women in the city said afterwards they had become afraid to leave their homes, with some assaulted in shops or in the streets. These are British women who happen to be Muslim, by the way. The unrest wasn't a one-off. Further large-scale anti-immigration rioting broke out in Ballymena in June 2025 and spread across several towns, and only weeks ago, Belfast saw a fresh disorder again targeting migrant and Muslim communities, which was at its very worst that I've seen so far. People's homes were being burnt down and people were too afraid to leave their homes. This summer, a centuries-old bonfire tradition in Northern Ireland was used to burn an effigy widely understood to be targeting Muslim, condemned by Amnesty International as a deliberate attempt to stir up hatred and immediate local families. As one community worker in Belfast put it, the news moves on, but the community doesn't. And the impact lives with you for life. This isn't just my story. Talk to Muslim residents across the town and you'll hear the same pattern over and over. It's part of our daily life. In the workplace, it's colleagues who get passed over the client-facing role because someone somewhere decided their name or their fate sends the wrong message. I personally have faced this many times. In public space, it's the stairs on the bus when someone stopped for prayer or fasted during Ramadan out loud, or simply, some of my female hijabi colleagues will realise this, sometimes people refuse to sit next to you on the bus or the train because you're simply a hijabi. It's parents who think twice before sending their kids to the local mosque so that they can learn about their faith more, about sending them to their Friday prayers because of what's happened in the last few months. It's people timing their journeys around when the streets will be safer and more secure for their kids to go out and play in. In civic life, it's Muslim residents who stop turning up to consultations, to scrutiny, because of the suspicion they're met with. It costs more than what it's worth. It's talented people who would make brilliant councillors, governors, magistrates, and other professionals who decide it isn't worth the abuse that comes with putting your head above the parapet, because they've watched what happens to people like me and many of my other Muslim colleagues in this room. And the cumulative effect of it, or of all of it, isn't just anger. It's at first, it's apathy, it's low morale, it's slow, a quiet withdrawal from civic life, which is what we simply cannot afford to have. So I've been told I've got 1 minute, so I'll quickly talk about my personal experience. So when I was growing up, I often was told when EDL marches were coming in, I couldn't leave the house. I had to keep all my windows and doors locked. And that is a real fear that you grow up with as a kid, and it lives with me till this day. Still, when I see someone even simply just looking at me a funny way, I'll retreat myself. So tonight's vote, it's not just a commitment and not just words, as we've given the assurance, Councillor Fry, but actually we're going to see this into action and train more staff and recognise anti-Muslim hate in all its forms, track and report everything properly, and ask every single person in this council, including members and officers, to report and call out when they see small or big acts of Islamophobia, and make sure that the definition shapes real decisions. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
The motion is before the council. Does any member vote against the proposal? The motion is carried. The next item is a matter of urgent business, a proposed urgent resolution in relation to the current situation in Azad, Jammu and Kashmir. I call upon Councillor Zahoor Ahmed to move this resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm bringing this motion before the Council because many residents in Luton have contacted me and other colleagues in this chamber with serious concerns about the situation in Azad, Jammu and Kashmir and the impact it's having on their families. Before I continue, I would like to recognize and thank colleagues from across the chamber for the work they have already done on this issue. I would like to thank Councillor Aslam Khan, Labour members, the independent members, Councillor Amjad Ali, and all members of the Liberal Democrats for raising their concerns about this issue on various platforms. Although I have brought this motion forward, I hope it will be seen as a matter that goes beyond party politics. It is about our residents, their families, and our shared humanity. Why this matters to Luton? Luton is home to a large Kashmiri community. For many of our residents, this is not a distant issue. Parents, children, brothers, sisters, and close relatives live in the region. Every unanswered phone call, every message that cannot be delivered, and every report of unrest causes real anxiety for families here in our town. When we hear reports of people being killed or injured, we should remember they are not only simply numbers. Every person is someone's son or daughter, someone's mother or father, someone's brother or sister. Behind every person is a family living with grief and uncertainty. Current concerns: communication disruptions, making it difficult for families to contact their loved ones. Restrictions on movement affecting local communities. Reports of wrongful arrests and ongoing tensions in the region. Peaceful demonstrations linked to concerns about electricity, the rising cost of living, and wider issue of the governance and accountability. Deep anxiety among Luton residents who are unable to confirm the safety and well-being of their relatives. Why the Council should act? I fully recognize that foreign policy is the responsibility of the UK government. However, when international events have such a direct impact on the well-being of residents in Luton, I believe it is right that this Council acknowledge those concerns and ensure their voices are heard. What we are asking for, that the Council writes to the Pakistan High Commission in London asking for support for British nationals and their families. That the Council calls for reliable communication services to be restored wherever they have been disrupted. That the Council calls for unnecessary restrictions that stop families from staying in contact to be removed. That the Council supports peaceful dialogue, de-escalation, and respect for fundamental human rights. That the Council writes to the UK Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office and the Pakistan High Commission to share the concerns raised by Luton residents and to encourage every effort to reduce tensions, protect the rights of people taking part in peaceful protests, and ensure due process is followed in relation to any detentions. Mr. Mayor, this is not about taking sides. It is about standing with families in Luton who are worried about their loved ones. It is about showing compassion, supporting peace, and recognizing the genuine concerns of our residents. I therefore ask members from all political groups to support this motion so that we can send a clear message that Luton stands for peace, dialogue, respect for human rights, and the well-being of every family affected. I commend this motion to Council. Thank you.
Is the motion seconded?
I second the motion and reserve the right.
Are there any questions? Councillor Nichols.
Sorry, just a question, point of clarification. I don't know if I missed it in the motion. You mentioned in your speech about writing to the Pakistan High Commission, but I don't think that was one of the resolutions in the motion, is it? So is that an amendment to the motion? Because it doesn't say that in the motion, but you said that in your speech. I don't know if I've missed it. You mentioned in your motion the FCDO, which is the government.
Yeah, yes, and where it says that the council resolves.
Okay, so not the Pakistan High Commission, the government department. Okay.
Yeah, please, if you can add Pakistan High Commission London as well.
Yes, yeah, probably we can add that in if the seconder is happy with that amendment. Okay. Are there any questions? Are there any amendments? Councillor Salim.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Zohur Ahmed, for bringing this important item. Our communities do indeed have strong ties with the people of Kashmir. Indeed, many of those within this chamber have their ethnic origins in Kashmir. So naturally, we are deeply concerned about relatives and loved ones in that part of the world. And indeed, as you've stated, human rights abuses, the blackouts, and the violence against the civilian population. Both our MPs in Luton North and Luton South have advocated for families, as you will know, and they have spoken with the Foreign Secretary on this issue. Only on Tuesday, they both attended a meeting in the Houses of Parliament, and Rachel Hopkins, MP, raised concerns. She asked for updates with respect to what's happening in Kashmir. She asked how the government is working to uphold human rights in Kashmir. And she asked what steps the government is taking to help and support our British nationals in Kashmir. So we are more than happy to support what you have brought. I will write to the Secretary of State, as you've suggested. I see that as part of the ongoing work that we're all doing in supporting our residents and supporting our MPs. Our amendment is very small indeed. It's 9 words. When we have this council resolves to, paragraph 2, before call upon the UK government, we would like to recognise the MP's ongoing work and insert support the efforts of the 2 Luton MPs and call upon the UK government. So that is what we are proposing. We have some written statements if you want to see it, but I'm happy to read it out again if you require that. Otherwise, we will be supporting this. Just one final thing to add. We only saw this about an hour or so ago, and we personally would have liked to have seen it tighter. And as Amy has pointed out, you know, there are certain things that we could have worked on this together, but as it is, we're happy to accept it. Thank you. With the amendment, obviously.
So we have a amendment for Councillor Zola. So line 2, support the efforts of the 2 Lieutenant MPs and call upon the UK Government and the Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office and also the Pakistani High Commission to continue engaging with relevant international partners. That's the additional bit. Everything else is same. Can you accept that amendment? Does any member wish to speak to the motion? Councillor Aslam.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Finally, we got there. I thought it wasn't rocket science. All he needed was to accept it. But anyway, thank you very much. First of all, I wholeheartedly support this motion. I think in Luton, we are proud of our track record for being the voice for the voiceless and also promoting basic human rights, whether they're in Ukraine, Palestine, Kashmir, or anywhere around the globe. And I am grateful to all the parties, including Labour, Liberal, as well as my Conservative colleagues, to answer my call. We were the first one, including yourself, Mr. Mayor, to issue a statement and also put a joint resolution which already exists, and it has gone to Pakistani High Commission, and it has been communicated to both the government of Pakistan as well as government of Kashmir. We have been contacted by residents across the country. As you know, the vast majority of people from Pakistan origin, 80% of them are from Azad Kashmir. And one of the reasons they have left Kashmir was because it's considered as a disputed territory. And over the years, there has been lack of investment. People continuously have to leave Kashmir to find work and to put food on the table and have roof over their heads. And at the same time, Fahim Abbasi, the former IG, has publicly said that in his tenure, which was well over 40 years, there wasn't one election which was transparent, and what he was indicating, it was manipulated, which means that people of Kashmir do not have the opportunity to elect politicians which are accountable, who serve the public, and they're questioning the governance. And there has been uprising where people are calling for basic rights because cost of living, if you imagine is hurting you, you imagine in a country where there's no welfare. And when they come to streets to make themselves heard, you don't expect any free democratic country to start firing upon them with live bullets. And that's exactly what is happening. And this is where a lot of Kashmiris abroad or at home are deeply concerned that everyone should have a right to expression of freedom for expression, and also the right to protest. And even in this country, and we should be proud of this country, although a lot of Kashmiris have taken to the streets, but they have been beaten up and they haven't been fired upon. And that's the example that we should be proud of and should encourage countries like Pakistan and India that people should be allowed to speak. And the second concerning part is that those people who are protesting here somehow are appearing on the list, and their families are being arrested, and they're being blacklisted to travel to Pakistan. For me, I think we as a country have a right to protect our citizens, and this is something that we have to raise with our parliamentarians and also to the Foreign Office, that we should express our deepest concern that if someone here is law-abiding and also becoming a voice for the voiceless, should not be either blacklisted or should be arrested. That's one of the things that I would strongly advocate. I've got a family who's traveled to Pakistan where their loved one has passed away. They're gone for burial. Now their kids are here. They're unable to communicate with them because there's no internet and you can't simply make phone calls. Now people are worried. And also there are people of British origin who are citizens of this country have also died. And there is no investigation going on to who has fired, was it the authorities, and whether they were involved in protests or not. These are the questions we need to hear back. And I think it is appropriate that we should be writing as a council to the Foreign Office and encouraging our MPs who both were one of the first ones to express concerns. And I again say that I second this motion, but I think we need to continue raising our voices till things are settled down in Pakistan.
Councillor Anwar Malik.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I am honored to rise in the support of this motion. For many people, Azad Jammu and Kashmir is simply a place they hear about on the news. But for thousands of families here in Luton, it is more than that. It is a home. It is where parents and great-parents live, where loved ones are buried, and where precious memories has been made. As a British Kashmiri councillor, I know deeply these events are felt by our community. Over the past few weeks, many residents have spoken to me about the worry and uncertainty that are living with every day. They have told me about sleepless nights, unanswered phone calls, and the fear of knowing whether their loved ones are safe. No family should have to live with that uncertainty. As a councillor, we cannot solve international disputes, and we should never pretend that we can. But we can do something that matters. We can listen. We can acknowledge the concerns of our residents, and we can show them that in their time of worry, they are not alone. The British Kashmiri community has made a huge contribution to our town. They have worked hard, raised families, built businesses, supported charities, volunteered in our communities, and helped make Luton the diverse and welcoming place it is today. Today, many of those same people are carrying heavy burden in their hearts. This motion is not about taking sides. It is about standing with our residents. It is about recognizing that every human life has a value. Every family deserves dignity, and every disagreement should be resolved through dialogue rather than violence. My sincere hope is that those with responsibility choose wisdom over confrontation. The voices are heard rather than silenced, and that the peace replace fear. Lasting peace can only come through respect, understanding, and the meaningful dialogue. Today, by supporting this motion, we are sending a simple but important message to our residents. We hear you, we stand with you, and your concerns matter. I therefore ask colleagues from every political group in this chamber to join together in support of this motion. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Malik, Khadija Malik.
Thank you. I would echo what my colleagues have said, and I fully support this motion. And I think it's really important to understand that for me, coming from Kashmir, it was the words of Azad Jammu Kashmir, Azad meaning independent. And I think it was the first time that when it was blackouts and not able to contact families back home, that I realised that that word Azad was not really what it really meant. Of something, someone who's British from here, whose motherland, I have my parents that are buried there, so we have a connection. So it's the first time that I actually realised that there was no freedom in the words that were actually said there as Azad Jammu Kashmir, because that's what I read it as, a place that has freedom. But seeing what is actually happening there has shown that there is no freedom for the people that actually live there. And hearing all the horror stories and things that are actually happening on ground is really disturbing. And for me, the most constructive path forward is through dialogue, transparency and peaceful engagement by all parties. Lasting peace cannot be achieved through communication, blackouts, or isolation, but through meaningful dialogue, respect for human rights, regardless of where it happens, and a commitment to resolving differences peacefully. So I would urge our MPs to make sure, to see if they can actually get international media within the locations to see what is actually happening on ground, because currently we do not have a freedom of the media in those areas. And if there is transparency, we here, the community in the UK and anywhere around the country is able to see what is actually really happening on the ground. If there is blackout of the media, you cannot see what is actually happening. So for us, not having internet, not having a transparent media there must be something that we are not being told. So there's always speculations, and if there's transparency, and we've got a government that is actually mediating with another country around issues that are happening there, I think it's right that they also make sure that they're able to come to a resolution for the people that actually live in Kashmir. Thank you.
Councillor Fry, you reserve the right to speak. Councillor Neef, before that.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I mean, I'm going to happy to support the motion as it is amended. And again, I think the people of Luton have shown that they've put their faith in a chamber, in elected members who reflect their concerns. And you know, again, it shows a sign that we as a borough, as a town, we care about all issues. I mean, we'll start off by, I think nearly 50,000 people living in this town have their heritage based in Pakistan and Kashmir. So the strength of any nation is measured not by its economic or military progress, but how it treats its own people and respects their rights. The people of Kashmir, like all people, deserve the fundamental right of dignity, freedom of expression, political participation, access to justice, education, healthcare, and economic opportunity. I, as a British, as a Pakistani Kashmiri, can testify that that does not happen, right? I mean, my late grandfather had to go to this capital, drive 4 hours for heart surgery. So there are a lot of inequalities. These are the inequalities that the people of Kashmir, my family members who still live there, are trying to fight for. So these are not privileges, they are universal human rights recognized under international principles and law. Respecting the rights of the people of Kashmir means listening to their voices and ensuring that they are able to participate in meaningful in the decisions that affect their lives. Good governance is built on accountability and transparency. What must be reminded is that for Kashmir as a region, Azad Kashmir was given devolved powers, the right to run its own elections. But unfortunately, through interference by Islamabad parties, that hasn't always been the case, and that is part of the demands of the protesters. It is so important that governments uphold their commitments to democratic values and the protection of civil liberties. Where the government of Pakistan has brought about peace in Iran, in the Middle East, in fact, the peace brokered by the government of Pakistan is benefiting us here through cheaper oil and gas energy prices. So where they've done that, they need to do it at home with the people of Kashmir. So this is not about taking any sides or with any people. It's about standing for a simple and universal principle that every individual should be able to live in their own homes in security, opportunity, and the freedom to shape their own future. And that simply hasn't been the case in Kashmir for decades. The people of Kashmir have a rich history, culture, spanning nearly 1,000 years or more. They deserve to have their rights protected and their voices respected. By prioritising justice, which is what we are doing here today in this chamber, and equality and peaceful engagement, the British government should stress the fact to the government of Pakistan that it has an opportunity to strengthen its democratic values and to contribute to a more stable and hopeful future for the region. And by making sure that it meets the needs and resolves the Kashmir issue, there are other regions in Pakistan that can also benefit from the approach they will adopt there. So again, British, Pakistanis, Kashmiris, we send over literally billions of dollars of foreign investment, and that is dependent on the fact that there's freedom and fairness. So again, I would like to thank Councillor Zohor and others, Councillor Salim, for coming together and putting forward this amended motion where we're sending the message that the people of Luton are saying that stop the injustice, let the people of Kashmir be independent in deciding their own future. Thank you.
I'll call upon Councillor Fry just to check as a second with the reserved right. Do you wish to speak to the motion? Thank you. Zohor. Councillor Zohor, do you wish to respond?
Thank you everyone for your support. Thanks.
Right. The motion is before the council. Does any member vote against the proposal? The motion is carried. That concludes the business for this meeting. Thank you for your attendance.